Hello and welcome to Woke Watch, an ongoing series of videos where I find woke content from around the internet, and then together we pull it apart to expose woke ideology for the bullshit it really is. Now, we're at that awkward point of the year between Boxing Day and New Year's Eve where no one's quite sure what day it is or what we're meant to be doing, but we do know if you want to have breakfast consisting of a packet of chocolate biscuits and then knock back a litre of Baileys, that's absolutely fine. But the woke are also busy during the festive period. Of course, the wokest of all woke ideologies is gender ideology, what I refer to as the TQ cult. The really militant, trans, queer and non-binary people. The folks who claim they're constantly being oppressed and they're being victimised, but they're always on the fucking attack. They don't want equality, they want superiority. So let's begin with advice on what to do over the festive period if you have trans children.
I've got 5 tips for parents of trans kids for getting together with family this holiday season. Holiday tip number 1, make a plan for any misgendering. Do Gigi and Pawpaw have trouble with your kid's new name? Does cousin Mildred have a hard time with they-them pronouns? Have a conversation with your kid before getting together with family and ask them how they want to handle any misgendering or someone using their dead name. Do they want you to correct relatives? Do they want to handle it? Or do they just want to let it go? Communication is key. Come back tomorrow for my next holiday tip.
In my opinion, if you're a parent to a young child, a child who hasn't yet been through puberty, because I don't think any of us know who we really are until that's happened, but your young child is saying that they are trans, as a parent, you fucked up. You allowed your offspring to get brainwashed by social media, woke teachers and social contagion. Now, I don't have kids myself, but if one of my nephews came to me and said, "Uncle Daniel, I think I'm a girl," I would say, "Well, you're not. Shut the fuck up and stay off TikTok." Mercifully, that's the only clip I have of that woman. But let's be honest, is anyone actually going to stay at her house during the holidays? Does she have any friends and family saying like, "Oh yeah, we've got an invite from Sheila to go over for a few nights"? Sheila, the one with the weird kid, the boy who thinks he's a girl, who gets upset about every fucking thing. Surely we can go somewhere else. Next up, we have a clip from a chap who I think is called James. I've had clips of his on my channel before. And James is talking about the trans genocide, which is apparently going on right now. The only genocide in history where everyone being killed is alive and well to tell us about it. Now, to get some context on James, who claims that he is trans and non-binary, which doesn't make any fucking sense because you can't be the opposite gender and also no gender. This is a man who dresses as a woman and likes to use female-only spaces. Something which I would say is something that a sexual predator would do. But he says that any woman or little girl who gets offended at him getting his cock out in a women's changing room is being transphobic because they have internalised misogyny. Any woman who sees a penis and thinks that must be a man is apparently a bigot.
I really wasn't prepared to do Genocide 101 today on this corner of the internet, but since you asked, figured we might as well dive into this. So, one of the main tactics that fascists use to dehumanize, to exterminate a population is to dehumanize them. And one of the main things we see the alt-right extremists in America doing is dehumanizing transgender and LGBTQ plus people, but specifically transgender people. And if you notice the history of other genocides, if you look at the Holocaust, you look at the Rwandan genocide, you look at other genocides that have occurred, you look at even the transatlantic slave trade is very much a genocide. There were tactics that the people in power used to dehumanize the other people involved. There were many slurs that were used against Jewish people in the Holocaust, and they were delegitimized for their beliefs, their identities, their values, their ethnicities. If you look at the transatlantic slave trade, there was race science that was used to dehumanize black people, African people, people that were being traded and kidnapped and horrible things, right? If you look at the Rwanda genocide, you're looking at another version of like ethnic cleansing. The list goes on, right? The people in power dehumanize the people who they see as lesser or inferior by any means that they can. And misgendering is one of the tactics that people on the alt-right are using to dehumanize transgender people. Because if somebody comes into my space and says, "You think you're non-binary, but you're actually just a man," it delegitimizes who I am and it dehumanizes me, because a big core of my humanity is a trans person. So
keep in mind that that man thinks that any woman who's offended by him getting his dick out is a bigot. I'd argue that the ultimate misogyny is a man going into a female-only space with the intention of getting naked and then claiming to be the victim. However, he mentions, well, he kicks off with the Holocaust, which is rather ironic given that trans women are the most protected people in Western society. If there's any form of violent altercation between a trans person and a cisgender, fucking hate that term, person, it's far more likely that the trans person is the perpetrator. So the comparison between the worst thing that's ever happened and being misgendered is fucking disgusting. Then mentions of the Rwandan genocide, which clearly he knows nothing about, and the transatlantic slave trade, which, as usual, conveniently he didn't mention that the Africans being sold were being sold by other Africans. It was actually white Europeans, in particular the British, who put an end to the slave trade. But he constantly mentions the way that the alt-right and fascists use language to dehumanise people they see as inferior to them. So, which group of people and their toxic woke allies refer to women as birthers, bleeders, chest feeders, people who have periods, vulva owners, and even one I read today, bodies with vaginas? The most dehumanising language towards women is coming from the trans movement. And he mentioned race science as a way to dehumanise certain groups of people. Is this not the same science that the trans movement are using, saying that biological men have no advantage over women in women's sports? Or that a male sex offender, after conviction, can say he's now a woman and then get housed in a women's prison? Make no mistake, this is pure wokeness. Playing the victim, saying you're being oppressed when it's actually the woke who are acting like fucking fascists. And they like to target the youth as well. Hitler had the Hitler Youth. The woke have got fucking TikTok.
These men are actually stealing the seats from other women. In 2023 in the United States, the best female cyclist is a man. The best female runner is a man. The best female swimmer is a man. And the woman of the year? A man. Tampax, Nike, Maybelline, they all used men to promote female products.
How difficult is it to accept this? Well, you can't accept this nonsense.
I can't. It's nonsense. And many women like me and also men are opposing this nonsense.
And like fascists, this hardcore, this small group of hardline lunatics openly pushing a hateful ideology, because that's what it is. So many of the hardcore trans and non-binary types just hate women. They used to be incels. They couldn't get a shag when they lived in their mother's basement, so now they're putting on a dress and finding they're still not getting a shag. And as for violence, well, watch this clip.
Not to be like overly dramatic or anything, can we just start stabbing transphobes at this point? Like, we have such a big problem of transphobic people being fucking idiots and not getting their shit kicked in. Can we just start kicking their shit in? It would be so much easier for everyone. The entire world would be so much better if we could just stab a transphobe. Say something transphobic, you get stabbed. The world would be beautiful.
So I'm not a lawyer, and I don't know what the law is in the USA, but I'm fairly certain that is incitement to murder. Essentially saying anyone who, and transphobe isn't the right word because it's not a phobia, it's just anyone who wants to go along with reality rather than following that person's lies, deserves to get stabbed to death. If you want to prove that trans women are men, just tell them they're not real women and watch the violence erupt. In particular, if you're a woman saying it, it's rare that a trans woman will hit a biological man, because then it would be a fair fight. However, there's a clip that's gone viral and it is fucking wonderful.
And what about when adults employ misgenders you intentionally?
While he's talking, you're talking.
You just misgendered me again.
Okay.
Multiple times.
Gotcha.
Both of you have.
Sorry. Wasn't intentional, but if you want to take it personal, that's also.
Well, she did do it intentionally twice.
You're talking to me too.
You said she and then you said he.
You're being condescending, and if you want to continue, I have full authority to escort you out the building right this moment if you want to play that game with me.
Okay.
Would you like to continue 3 days before Christmas? I really don't mind.
I'm good. I'll just put this on.
that airline worker has just become one of my personal heroes, because this is the individual claiming that he was being misgendered. And this isn't someone born in the wrong body, this is a transvestite, this is a cross-dressing fetishist, a pervert, someone who gets off on wearing women's clothing and going into women's spaces. And of course, that's okay if you're not hurting anyone else. But when you're having a go at someone doing their job, someone who legally has to know what gender you are before they can let you get on a plane, well, sorry pal, fuck you. Personally, I think there needs to be more of that type of behaviour, because we've tried being nice, we've played along, but it's clear nothing will ever be enough. Just ignoring the evidence of your own eyes that someone who's 6'7" with 5 o'clock shadow and a voice deeper than mine is demanding to be called a woman and treated as a woman. It's beyond a fucking joke. And let's be clear, if you were born with a cock and bollocks and someone refers to you as he, that person isn't misgendering you, it's just they aren't quite as mad as you are. Everyone else, as ever, thanks for watching.